أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم أئمة ونجعلهم الوارثين. So much has been said about leaders and what leaders are and who should be leaders. But I want you to know that you don't have to be rich to be a leader. You don't have to be poor to be a leader. You don't have to be a male to be a leader. You don't have to be a female to be a leader. You can be a leader if you are healthy. You can be a leader even if you are alien. You can be a leader if you are young. You can be a leader even if you are old. Anyone can learn to be a leader because leaders are made, not born. To be a leader requires not merely a single trait, a single quality. That is, you stand up or you are elected or you are selected or you are appointed and you become a leader. It's thrust upon you. No. To be a leader requires a skill set which comprises multiple abilities. And this is the purpose of this leadership series. There are two important things about leadership that we need to know. First of all, is the individual himself or herself that is going to lead, and there are certain abilities that they have to have, internal in their own personality and character, and the ability to function and manage and carry out their responsibilities. But an integral, an important part of leadership, and I'll be dealing with that a little more tomorrow, inshallah, is the people that they are going to lead. The people determine who is a leader. They are the ones. A leader cannot be a leader without people that he is leading. People need leaders. And the type of people that we have determines the quality of the leadership and the leaders that you have. It does not mean that good people will bring forth good leaders or that bad people will bring forth bad leaders. Sometimes it's actually just the opposite. That even though you have good people, you have bad leaders. And if you have bad leaders, a good leader can change them. So that it is important at some point in time in your Jamaat, in your community, not only in religious affairs, in your home, in your businesses, in your other activities as well, at some point in time you may either be called upon to be a leader or you may be called upon to assist in appointing or selecting or determining who a leader is. And so it is important for you to know and to understand who is a leader. Who is the person that you want to be a leader? A leader is someone who takes time and effort to achieve his or her goals. A leader doesn't have to be appointed by people to be a leader, first of all. If a person takes the time and takes the effort to achieve his or her goal, they are already a leader, even if they are not appointed. And that was the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nobody asked him to be a prophet. Nobody asked him to be a leader. He spent 15 years in the cave of Hira, seeking some kind of guidance, some kind of help, some kind of method, some ways and means or resources to lead his people out of corruption, from barbarism to civilization. Even before he was elected, he realized that he had and could do something for his people. And this is something each and every one of you must realize. Never think that you're weak. Never think that you're alone. Think that as an individual and as a leader, you have certain powers in you. And those powers need to be developed. A leader is more than one who delegates tasks. We tend to apply the term leadership to one who tells other people what to do. And I dealt with that yesterday when I said this is a difference between a leader and a boss. Someone can be bossy. They want to boss others around. They want to tell people what to do, and we say that is leadership, that is a leader. But so far as Islam is concerned, as we have seen, that every prophet of God, Abraham, Noah, David, Solomon, Ram, Krishna, Confucius, Buddha, the Prophet Muhammad, Jesus Christ, all of these are men appointed by God as leaders. And what did they achieve? Why were they leaders? They were leaders because a leader shapes communities and families and inspires a group of people to reach higher as human beings. And that is one of the things that the founder of the Ahmadiyya movement, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, has pointed out to us. He said, look at the millions and billions of people who follow personalities. Look at the millions of Jews who follow Abraham, and Christians and Muslims, and David and Solomon. Look at the million of Muslims who accept Muhammad. Look at the millions of Christians who accept Jesus Christ. However, whatever they accept, whatever we know about these persons, look at the millions of people who accept Ram and Krishna as leaders, who accept Buddha. These people had to be divinely appointed for their reputation and their influence to last for centuries, and sometimes more than centuries, millenniums, thousands of years. They are still influencing the minds and behavior and attitude of people. And people owe the existence and their development to these personalities in whatever way. So that we have to understand that the role of a leader is to, as I've always said as a leader myself, to tell people that anything that you can do better. That's the role of a leader. That is who a leader is. To inspire people that they may know that whatever you can do better. Whoever you are, if you're a student and you pass your exams, you can still do better. You can go to higher examinations. If you've given a speech or never given a speech, you can do better than that. You can always improve yourself. That's the nature of the human being, and this is where leadership is important. And so we look at, as we have been looking, as I said, every prophet of God, but particularly the prophet of Muhammad, that is called the Khatamun Nabiyyin, the epitome, the compendium of all prophets, because in his personality we see a combination of the excellences of all the great people that came as divinely appointed messengers of God. And I've listed so many of them. Look at the Prophet Muhammad, and you will see who is a leader. The first quality we note about him is something that was noted by his opponents. He was called Al-Amin, the trustworthy. So that the first quality that a leader needs to develop is he must understand that you do not lie. A leader must not lie, never lie. Never tell an untruth. Be Al-Amin, be always truthful. A leader needs to also identify obstacles and challenges and to consult and bring about a consensus. And was mentioned, I think, a bit of that by Roshni just a while ago in the Battle of Uhud. The Prophet Muhammad, before he went out, he wanted to fight within the walls of Medina, to defend himself within the walls of Medina. It was safe. But there were others who felt, no, Let's go outside and face the enemy. We'll get the help of God. They had seen victory at the Battle of Badr. And even against his own wishes, he went with that consensus, and they went out of the city of Medina to fight the enemy that came to them. They didn't go to the enemy came to them. And we have heard him also in other battles, in defense of Medina later on. There was a trench that was dug, and as I said, mention has been made of that, where he worked with the others as side by side with them. But in the case of the Battle of Uhud, he gave instructions to 50 archers that you should hold your position under any circumstances. Don't leave your positions. But when the battle turned in favor of the Muslims, those 50 archers felt we won the battle already, and they left their positions. And some of the enemy went around and attacked the Muslims from indeed the back of from their back, and they suffered quite a lot of losses. So that the Prophet Muhammad had identified the obstacles and the challenges that he would face, and he consulted and brought about a consensus. But sometimes we have to realize that those that you lead sometimes do not follow instructions, and it brings severe consequences for the entire community. But we must also realize that we are all human beings, even leaders. And the Prophet Muhammad specifically articulated this fact as a leader, as a great leader. Any leader must realize that your ego can cost you something if you put yourself before others. Each leader must know, if you are a leader, you must know that you are not as important as you believe or that you think you are. Life will go on even without you. The leader will pass away one day. The community will continue. Life will continue. And that is why the Prophet Muhammad, in the last verse of chapter 18 of the Quran, says, I'm only a human being just like you. I have no special qualities. I don't have the treasures of the heavens and the earth, another place in the Quran says. I don't know the future. I'm just a human being just like you. A leader must understand his or her own humanity, humanness, and that you're no different from any others, but you are given an opportunity and you have developed the skills that could help people change their life and their attitude. A leader must show empathy to others, must work with others. In chapter 99 of the Quran, chapter 9 verse 99, and in other places, chapter 48 and so on, chapter 47 of the Quran, it mentions the Prophet Muhammad. There are several verses that tells of his kindness and the gentleness. In one case, he prayed even for his enemies. Another case, the Quran says, if he was not gentle with people, they would turn away and run away from him. So these guidelines as to who is a leader are given to us in the Holy Quran, as other speakers have pointed out. There is so much information in the Quran about leadership. A leader also involves the team. A leader is not an isolated person, that we speak about great leaders without realizing that great leaders work as a team. Whether you classify Abraham Lincoln or Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi, any leader that you determine, they could not be successful without others who assisted them, sometimes unnamed others. Sometimes these leaders came about because others died or others sacrifices, and they stood up and said, this is wrong. So those who were victims and those who suffered, Abraham Lincoln could not have been a leader had it not been for slavery in America, for people being ill-treated, and realized that this was wrong, and so stood up for them. And so it is with so many other leaders. So the Holy Quran wants us to understand that we have to be helpers in the way of Allah. Kunu Ma Sadiqeen is one verse of the Quran that says, be with the righteous ones. Help and assist. Man ansari ilallah is another verse of the Quran. Who will help me in the way of God? The Prophet Muhammad, Prophet Jesus also mentioned this to his disciples. He asked them, who will help me? Jesus Christ had disciples. The Prophet Muhammad had companions. He involved others as well. And the reason that he was able to involve others was because a leader is someone that people can work with and relate to using humility, encouragement, fairness, and using open communication. So we see these qualities in the Prophet Muhammad and the other prophets of God as well. A leader must also be able to take and handle criticism gracefully. The Prophet Muhammad was even criticized by God. Abasa wa tawalla an ja'ahul ama. You frowned and turned away when a blind man came to you. That's not appropriate. The Prophet Muhammad did not delete that from the Quran. He left it. He took it gracefully and he made amends for his errors. In fact, there's a story that the Prophet Muhammad himself gave about Moses. He said Moses once was traveling and he came across a gentleman who says, oh God, I wish you were here, that I could comb your hair and I can rub your feet and I can, wash your toes and so on and look after you. And Moses came and said to him, he said, what foolish man. You think God is a human being that you can do these things, you can wash his hair? And Moses left him. The Prophet Muhammad said Moses had a dream that night, and God told him in that dream, he said, Moses, I didn't send you to be rough to people. I sent you to be gentle. This was the way in which the individual felt about me, and he was expressing his love for me, that he wanted to do something for me. He didn't understand the concept of who God is. Whatever concept he understood, he expressed that in his prayer. And so Moses went back and he looked for the man. And when he found him, he said, I'm sorry that I, said these things. And the man said, I don't want to hear you. You just, adopted an attitude of hostility towards me instead of guiding me. And so it is important for a leader to take criticism and communicate well with those around you and to have a clearly stated, as was mentioned, goal and vision. There are 6 leadership lessons that a leader needs to know and develop so that we know who is a leader. All of you, as I said, are leaders and can be leaders. And our young people, note these 6 things. First of all, a leader is one who works beside the people they claim to lead. He is not above, he is not below. He is not in front or behind. He is side by side. So that even though he may have ideas and visions, it does not mean that he is way ahead of people. He has to come down to their level. In fact, the Quran uses that expression of inna anzalna. It says that some things, even God's ideas descended. You have to come down to the level of people in your explanation, in your interpretation, in your application, in your presentation. You need to work with the people that you claim to lead. You need also to yield peacefully instead of fighting to keep power if people feel someone is a better leader. If you feel that the people decide that this person is a better leader, step down gracefully. I have had that experience in my own life, one by, I wouldn't say by force, but by decision of other people, and one voluntarily, where I stepped down as religious head of the Anjuman and asked that the Anjuman appoint somebody else, give other people a chance. And even in the case of my own Jamaat, I insist that people should also recognize not merely assistant imams, but the joint imams, that they are equally as good because they have their own skills, they have their own influence. There are some people they can influence that I can't influence. Sometimes they have presentation and ideas that I may not have thought about. And so a leader must recognize, no doubt, that others can be just as good or even better than them. The Quran mentions this about the Prophet Muhammad and Abu Bakr. He was a prophet of God, but the Quran describes the Prophet Muhammad as the second of the two, equating Abu Bakr with him in oneness, in ideas, in consensus, even though the Prophet Muhammad was a unique person. That's why we find that after him, Abu Bakr was the most excellent leader. A leader should seek reconciliation, not revenge. So much is demonstrated in the life of the Prophet Muhammad about this. We see it in the life of Joseph as well, bringing his brothers together. We see it in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, who at the conquest of Makkah forgave his enemy. I say to you, as Joseph said to his brothers, I forgive you. He brought about reconciliation, not revenge. A leader must attract and motivate great people, not only the less fortunate, but even your message has to be inviting to people of all quality, standard of living, whether they are rich, whether they are poor, whether they are educated, whether they are ignorant. It must attract and motivate. And great people doesn't only mean big in power and knowledge, but people who have qualities and capabilities of changing their lives and even changing the lives of others. A leader is one who empowers the followers to do the right thing, even through sacrifices, making sacrifices. The Prophet Muhammad was able to make his followers sacrifice their lives, go through hardships, abandon their homes for the sake of the vision and the message that he had, the oneness of God. And we know the cries of Bilal in that hot sand, Ahadun, Ahadun, one God, one God. They bore a lot of trials and tribulations for the sake of that vision. We have to consider ourselves, my dear sisters and brothers, fortunate. And we don't have to go through that. We don't have to fight wars. We don't have to abandon our homes. Where then should we put our efforts and our resources for the sake of this religion? Look at the sacrifices of those who went before, so that we can enjoy the benefit of this religion. Think carefully of how you can contribute your children, your resources, your homes, your mosque, for the cause of Islam. Think carefully. This is what the Ahmadiyya Anjuman is here for, as a leader, to guide you so that you can be empowered, that your Jamaat, your home, your family, your children can raise their head high with this religion of Islam and make themselves better people, living in harmony with people of all faiths and all races. So leadership is more than being in charge and managing people. Some people are leaders, but they're just managers. They just, boss around people, or they look after certain interests. They have no goal or vision. They are told what they have to do, and they do it. A leader that separates, leadership really separates good leaders from great leaders. They are good leaders and they are great leaders. And what is the difference? Leadership that builds other leaders is the best type of leadership. A leader who can create leaders is the best type of leaders. So good leaders excel at motivating other people to do what they are asked. That's what a good leader does. A manager may lead followers, but a leader has followers. He don't have to lead them. People are attracted towards that leader and follow him without having to be managed by them and to be told what to do and how to do it. Leaders provide their followers with peace, harmony, and prosperity. They also develop their own individual personality and spirituality by their commitment to morality and integrity. That is who a leader is. Developing his or her own morality and indeed spirituality by their commitment to morality and integrity in religion. Who is a leader? Leader is one who does what is right regardless of what they are told. You do the right thing. Not to do whatever you are told, whether or not is right, even though it may be wrong, but because I've been told to do that. I follow in instructions. A leader is one must know that this is right or this is wrong, and if it is wrong, I must stand up and say, I'm unable to do what is wrong, as was mentioned by the chairperson, enjoin what is right and forbid what was wrong, or perhaps one of the other speakers said just a while ago. A leader is one who is a leader? We look at as a leader as one who employs partnership and collaboration in administration, rather than catering only to the majority or to certain favored groups. And that is extremely important. Some leaders cater only for special interests. And that apparently, a statement was made by Roshni, I think, when she quoted Abraham Lincoln and that famous expression that people always say, democracy is government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Yes, democracy is of the people. People actually, democracy, they are governed by the by people, of the people, and it is for the people. But sometimes that BY has a U inserted into it. And you have a government by the people, BUI instead of BY. And this is one of the failures of leadership, and that is why we have a crisis of leadership. That many leaders come about because they BUY their followers. They buy their followers by means of social media, by means of so many promises, by so many things. And perhaps that phrase, that entire concept should be revised or corrected or amended or totally omitted, because it is creating crisis in leadership, as we have heard Roger mention just a while ago. My dear sisters and brothers, who is a leader? A leader is one who possesses and uses reason and sound judgment. All of us have that ability. Leaders are God-fearing. That is how we look at leaders. They are God-fearing, they are full of integrity, they are interested in the needs of all people, not merely serving their own religion or their own race or their own ethnic group or social status or their own interest or their own interest group. And we must know that it is religion which develops a person's morality and integrity with beliefs and behavior to influence and to enhance personality and character. Honesty, morality, and integrity arise from a relationship with God. So who is a leader? One who has a relationship with God. The greatest empowerment of a leader is not the money, is not the wealth, is not even the support, not the people, not the greatest empowerment of a leader is when he has a relationship with Allah. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun kareem malikun barurur rahim. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Tune in again next week for another episode of Our Islam, Peace, Not Hostility, a program brought to you by the Ahmadiyya Anjuman Ishrat Islam Incorporated of Trinidad and Tobago, an organization promoting a peaceful, tolerant, and intelligent Islam. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.